If you're somebody that doesn't like feeling overweight or has never been able to sustain your ideal body weight, in today's episode, I'm going to share with you a very logical way of thinking and some simple steps that I do to never be overweight. And these are also things that I recommend to my clients to do too. The problems I see with people who struggle with their weight is they have a self-sabotage mentality when they don't like what they see on the scales. A fuck it mentality comes on the moment they see a metric on the scales that isn't aligned to what they want to see. So for example, and this might relate to you, many people begin their weight loss journey and that journey is going super smooth. They're losing weight, they're dropping fat, they're seeing progress. And then the moment that scales number goes up, they think they've failed, they think fuck it, and then they overeat, drink, or both. And then all of a sudden they're back to square one or worse. I've seen it over and over again. This is one thing we focus on with Built to Last, is managing expectations. If you're someone who is at the beginning of your fat loss journey or closer to that metric that you want to see, or maybe at a place where you are now seeing numbers that are keeping you happy on the scales, if you've never been able to consistently maintain that yet in your life for an extended period of time, and what I mean by that is a couple of years, there is still that danger, no matter how consistent you've been, that the moment you see a number you do not like, you'll say fuck it, and you'll panic, and you'll think that you've failed. I'm yet to coach anybody who wants to drop weight where that number hasn't gone up at any point of that journey. But the problem I see is people panic and they literally think fuck it. The second problem I see is people just categorically avoiding stepping on the scales and just facing reality. And we've positively challenged clients, for example, around a weekend, certainly on a Monday, where certain clients, they might have weighed themselves Monday to, say, Tuesday to Thursday, maybe Friday, because they've controlled their diet, they've moved well, they've trained hard, maybe got some extra cardio in. Basically, they've felt consistent. And because they're doing lots of good things, that they're happy to step on the scales because they can see the weight metric come down. But then they go missing and don't do the same habit or habits from Friday to Monday. The problem is, if you avoid the scales and only step on them when you want to, or maybe you feel like you are particularly lighter, you will naturally create that on it, off it mentality with every single thing you are doing with your health and fitness. And it creates this enormous overwhelm every single time you step on the scales. So if you never want to be overweight, I strongly urge that you do not avoid the scales, even on days where you feel a bit bloated, a little bit heavier. And for many people, this is going to be around the weekend. You will create such unrealistic expectations and the perfectionist mentality by just periodically deciding when you're going to step on the scales and when you're going to measure your weight than doing it consistently. So what do I do? What do I recommend? Firstly, you need to have an ideal weight range. And for me, I have a 3 to 4 kilogram weight range. And that might seem like a lot. You know, if you measure your weight loss or your body weight in pounds, that would be around 5 to 7 pounds. That I'm happy for my body weight to fluctuate within reason over a period of a week or two. And I've covered this in previous episodes, but that's how much your body weight can fluctuate based on things like how late you eat, how much salt you have in your food, whether you eat a meat-based protein as opposed to fish. That will sit in your stomach longer. So even if you've eaten the same calories, you could be the same weight the next day. Also, if you've had a poor sleep, you've not been to the bathroom, all these different things can affect your body weight. So if you never want to be overweight, you need to have an ideal weight range that you can actually measure that against. For example, at the minute, my weight range is, my top end weight that I simply don't want to go above is 82 kilograms. And my bottom weight range that I would not want to go below at the minute is 79. Why? If I'm below 79 and I'm trying to perform at my best, as in be strong, fit, fast, and energized for work and day-to-day activities and tasks, then if I'm below 79 kilograms, then I know I'm going to be energy deprived, probably a little bit highly strung. For me, it represents I'm probably moving too much, training too much in relation to the energy I'm consuming. So that's my weight range. So first step is have an ideal weight range. And you might be thinking, well, I'm not even at that weight range yet. That's okay. But this episode is to help you maintain that ideal weight range once you get there. But to be honest, even the principles, even if you are not at that ideal weight range, will still apply. They'll still apply. That I'm going to share with you now. So once you've got an ideal weight range, you've got a top end, non-negotiable that you never want to go above. And this might change over certain periods. When you have different goals, you might be heavier trying to add muscle, for example, or when you're trying to get ripped or significantly leaner, then that weight range might shuffle up, might shuffle down. But I generally think having a 3 to 4 kilogram weight range is optimal. The second step then, and I've said this on so many podcasts, I've said it on so many social media posts, weigh yourself every single morning on an empty stomach, ideally in the same place. But even if you can't step on the same scales because you might be in hotels, you might be staying somewhere else from time to time with different scales, still cement the habit of weighing yourself every single day, because what gets measured, you can improve. And what you pay attention to, as I've said before, is easier to create predictable progress with. So weigh yourself every single morning. And the next step from that is, if I'm over my ideal weight range, so for example, if I was to step on the scales at any point over the next few weeks and I was above 82 kilograms, I've got a couple of choices. And both of them are better than fuck it and avoidance. If I'm over 82 kilograms and it doesn't make me feel good, which it doesn't generally, I make a conscious decision to move more that day. I'm gonna try and move more, or if my steps are already at a high threshold, can I add some additional cardio or just create more output with my training, whether it's via weights, a conditioning session, or just cardio. If I don't want to do that, or I can't, then if I'm feeling heavier, and I know this isn't like groundbreaking in terms of science, but it's just logic, as I've said in the title of the episode. If I can't move more and I can't train any harder and I can't put any more cardio in, for example, but I'm not feeling good about my weight, face the reality that just eat less food that day. Don't drop your protein. That's something I never do. I would still make sure I'm eating at least 1 gram of protein per 1 pound of body weight. So that'd be around 170 grams for me. Even if it was marginally less, it's not the end of the world. But if I felt heavier, I felt bloated, and it didn't make me feel good, to avoid that trend trending upwards, I would simply remove some calories from that given day. And most of the time that comes through carbs, because generally speaking, and this might relate to you, if you're ever feeling heavier, your weight shot up, there's a strong chance that has came from eating excessive carbs. For many people, it's going to be processed food and added sugar. But either way, it's carbs. And if you've eaten too many carbs the days leading up to you stepping on the scales and it being above your ideal weight range, then guess what? Look at what you've done the previous few days and then ask yourself, how can I easily eat less food on that given day? And for me, usually if I'm feeling heavier on a given day, then I would more than likely have less carbs or no carbs in my first meal or two, unless I was training first thing. But I certainly wouldn't be touching too many carbs early in the morning if it was a non-training day and I felt heavy, which can happen certainly on a Sunday, for example. What that'll allow your body to do, and your gut in particular, is let your gut breathe, your digestive system be in a much better place. If you feel bloated from eating too much food the days before. But very simply put, rather than panic, the message I'm trying to get across here, try and move more and or eat less. Don't sweat the small stuff. Even if you're an elite level athlete or you consider yourself ruthlessly consistent in the gym and you discipline with your food, at some moments of the year, your weight is going to shoot up from time to time, especially after a social occasion, a weekend, where you've maybe overindulged, and that's okay. Lastly, I reframe that jump up in weight as a positive. You might be thinking, what do you mean? If I'm feeling heavier and the scales back that theory up, then I look at it as an opportunity to lift more in my next training session. If I'm feeling heavier, especially if it's coming from carbohydrates, then I've got more force and more weight to lift more in my next session. I will challenge myself to try and hit more PBs, try and maintain more strength across my sets, which is going to accumulate to more volume, more energy out. And if more energy out is created within my session, whether it's through extra load and volume, then I'm creating more energy out, which is also going to naturally help bring my weight back down. So just in summary, to avoid feeling overweight and consistently putting weight back on, have an ideal weight range of around 3 to 4 kilograms. I'd say if you want to be super disciplined, 3 is better than 4. Weigh yourself every morning on empty stomach. And that is your indication as to whether or not you need to move more or eat less on that day. And then try and look at it as a positive that you have more fuel to perform better in your given sessions. So if you are, even on a worst case scenario, you ever see yourself 2 kilograms more than your ideal upper range of your body weight, look at it as I've got more energy to expend in my sessions, which is going to give me a positive feeling because I'm going to lift more, potentially run faster, or get a better level of performance within my given session. So I wanted to end with a quote as well. You're the average of what you do, not what you do every now and then. It's one of my favorite quotes we hammer home to our clients on a consistent basis, because anybody can have a shitty day of eating. Anybody can have days where they're a lot heavier, they feel bloated in a given month. But ultimately, your body weight, your shape, and how you feel about your body weight and shape is going to be down to what you do consistently, not what you do every now and then. But the last thing you want to do is self-sabotage and avoidance, because we're never, ever going to solve our problem of being overweight with that mentality. So, as always, thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.